In today's video, let's explore the alleged interview between an RAAF human female nurse and an alien survivor of the Roswell crash that took place in Area 51. Now, this is all taken from a book called The Alien Interview, published in 2008 by Lawrence R. Spencer. Now, what you're about to hear sounds crazy, outlandish, and something out of a sci-fi movie, but if it is all true, it will leave you feeling rattled, scared, and fascinated all at the same time. I read this book and it really did my head in, but some of it makes a lot of sense in certain areas, and I will give you a quick and brief rundown on what to expect in this book. I am not saying that this is the absolute truth and it's set in stone, but it will cause you to think about this life and where we may have come from, and that everything that we know is a complete lie, and Earth as we know it is the absolute definition of hell. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you don't know what is going on here, I am a horror artist and I like to draw what I talk about in each video. Now, nothing in the videos is meant to be insensitive to anyone mentioned or the families as well. I'm just bringing you information that I have found on the internet and I just want to share it with you, so don't shoot the messenger. But I will be accountable for my art. If you are a sensitive person, I recommend turning off right now and basically going over to another channel that makes you feel okay. With that being said, let's move on with the video. There has always been so much controversy over the most famous UFO crash in history, the Roswell UFO crash incident that happened in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. Government officials came out and swore black and blue that nothing crashed there but a weather balloon, and these weather balloon excuses are getting tiresome and very, very obvious that they are covering up something. But over the years, people started coming forward with quote-unquote evidence and stories of them being involved in the crash site and the retrieval. A 23-year-old woman named Matilda McElroy was one of those people, and Matilda may not have been her real name, but the name that was given to her when she was discharged from the government. She was a senior master sergeant in the Women's Army Air Force Medical Corps, and she had been documenting her encounter and interview with an alien, the only survivor of roughly 4 beings in the Roswell crash named Airl. In July 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield, the RAAF, recovered an alleged crash flying saucer from a ranch near Roswell, New Mexico. The true nature of the crash was covered up in the days that followed by the US government, in that Major Jesse Marcel, who was involved in the recovery, only found the remains of a weather balloon as pictured. And you can see by the photo that this was not what he found by the look on his face. Like, just look at his face. On the day of the crash, Matilda was assigned to go out to the crash site and assist with any medical treatment to the crew if any survived. When she arrived, she was confronted with the UFO crash and the bodies of quote-unquote dead aliens, plus one which was the pilot that was still alive and uninjured. The survivor did resemble the other deceased aliens, but was not exactly the same. When Matilda went to assist the being, she realized that the alien was trying to communicate with her in her mind via projecting images and feelings in the form of telepathy. As no one else had the same encounter, she wanted to accompany the alien back to the base. After a briefing and consultation with Senior Officer Mr. Cavett, she was then assigned as the companion to the alien at all times for the 6 weeks that Errol stayed present, so a butt-ton of interviews were conducted during that time. There was an interview room set up, and it had been split into 2 parts with a clear glass panel separating Matilda and Errol. For safety reasons, the alien and human could not be in the same room together at first. But as Matilda and Errol started learning things together, they ended up sitting next to each other while Matilda taught Errol about things on Earth. Errol sat in the chair that dwarfed her size, as she was the size of a small child. Matilda could not be alone at any time with the alien, and there was always people present, but Errol would not communicate with anyone else as she seemed to be scared and did not trust them. And when Matilda was not present or was being assisted by another person, the alien would not communicate at all. It pissed them off pretty bad that Errol would only communicate with Matilda. Cameras and recorders were set up and the interview was apparently captured. And I want to get some footage on that. I can't find anything. When Matilda first interviewed Errol, she couldn't really understand her, and apparently Errol had to learn English to start communicating as best she could with Matilda, and also Matilda had to then get used to telepathy communication as it was something that she had never done before. Over the weeks, the communication went from images in Matilda's brain to more language based in her head, and Errol's feelings, emotions, and thoughts became Matilda's. They trusted each other and formed a bond that no one else could break. Matilda also felt that Errol was sincere and wasn't going to hurt her or hide anything extremely detrimental to the humankind, and Errol was always excited and happy to see Matilda when she would meet her each day. Matilda started to realise that Errol was actually a female. Now, what I'm going to talk about now is some of the questions that Matilda asked Errol in the interview. That was the questions that were given to her by the other officers in her brigade. Are others going to come looking for you? Errol: yes. What are your weapons' capability? Errol: very destructive. Why did the aircraft crash? Errol: struck by electrical discharge from the atmosphere that made me lose control. So apparently there was a storm in the vicinity and a lightning bolt struck the ship, which brought it down accidentally. Why were you in the area? Errol: investigation of burning clouds, radiation. So apparently we, at this point in time in 1947, were experimenting with nuclear bombs and all that sort of stuff. So apparently, I'll get into it a little bit later as well, but apparently they were here to monitor the atmosphere and seeing if we were actually doing more harm than good. Well, you play around with that stuff, it's going to be more harm than good. See, I've read a lot of books and watched a lot of TV shows where they have had stories about UFOs hovering over nuclear weapons areas, basically shaking their heads at probably what we have, and we shouldn't be playing with this shit because we really are... a human race is pretty shit, so we shouldn't be playing with this shit. How is your aircraft controlled? Errol: through mind control. What have you learned about our government? Errol: small, poor, and will destroy planet. Yes, we know, Errol. That's why we are rising up right now and trying to stop it. Why has no contact been made to people on Earth? Errol: watch, observe, no contact. Are there other intelligent life out there besides yourself in the universe? Errol: everywhere. We are greatest, highest of all. Can you make your other beings understand that we don't want to hurt you? Errol: intentions are clear. Can see it in your mind, feelings. Why do you identify as female? Errol: I am creator, mother, source. Do you believe in a religion or a god? Errol: maybe, everywhere. All the data that Matilda had given Errol, such as books and Earth information, Errol relayed this back to her home planet and got data back about what Earth is, and Errol was able to tell Matilda certain things. The first thing that Errol told Matilda is that we are not our bodies. We are a soul, a spirit, or an isby, and we are an immortal entity that lives forever. Errol was able to project Matilda outside of her body to show her. An isby is what is projected into a doll body, much like Errol's body and our human bodies. A being, isby, or consciousness is instilled in the doll body and can leave it at any time if they choose to. Errol's race of beings can do this, leave the doll body and go about their non-physical lives as usual without the body. We as humans can't really do this without dying. Errol describes why they call it the isby, and it's because we exist, is, and then we be here on Earth? Apparently, ISBs have been around since the beginning of the universe, which could be 200 trillion years old to quadrillion years old, but time is interpreted differently depending on where you are in the universe. Whoever Errol was not this entity that was sitting in the room with Matilda, but the ISB was being projected into the body and controlling it like a drone. ISBs here on Earth return to the base when the body dies to get amnesia treatment by electromagnetic force fields set up around the galaxy and put back onto Earth in another body. But that is only just our ISBs, not the other ISBs out there, and I will get into that a little later. Airl told Matilda that she is a pilot, engineer, and officer on her home planet, serving the Domain Expeditionary Force for thousands of years in the area called the Domain. She was only 44 inches tall, just over a metre. Body was made of synthetic material with a circuit or electrical nervous system. No organs, no nose, mouth, or ears, disproportionate head to the body, and very large black eyes that don't blink. Thin arms, legs, and body, 3 fingers and toes on each hand and foot, and does not eat, drink, or require oxygen. Errol was here to see if we were going to destroy our planet with nuclear weapons and possibly intervene. They have been visiting Earth for 10,000 years, and Errol was from a station base that is situated in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. There is a number of galaxies in the domain and is full of power, wisdom, and knowledge, and they only care about advancing. They have 3 moons, 2 stars. Sounds very nice, and sounds like it's not run by a bunch of narcissistic lunatics. Take us there. Their civilization is very, very old. Errol goes to explain to Matilda the most terrifying thing of all. Earth is a prison for ISBs in this part of the universe that are classed as untouchables, criminals, and non-compliance. We are ISBs or souls that can't be controlled or are a problem in the universe. The universe has no use for us, and they are not needed as everything has been invented and advanced. ISBs that are artists, actors, politicians, perverts, and other creative people are all trapped here on Earth and have no idea that they are trapped here, as we have no memory of who we are due to the memory wiping and hypnosis done upon death, so we have no recollection of our spiritual awareness. Once the electronic traps erase the past lives from our ISB, we are then sent back down to Earth just to be. Some of us can and do remember some remnants of our past lives, quote-unquote old empire and technologies, and if we worked out we are being trapped, we could break it and remember everything. There are 4 known amnesia stations, 1 underground on Mars, 1 in Africa, 1 in Portugal and Mongolia here on Earth, that detect when the ISB departs the body due to death, makes it head towards the quote-unquote light, and begins the wiping process. There is a wide mix of races here, as we are all from different parts of the universe, such as Orion, the Pleiades, etc., and they have all been placed here together, and this causes friction and wars because all of our different belief systems clashing. This doesn't happen on other planets like it does here on Earth, and this is why we can't find peace. There is too many egos competing. Earth is a small planet in a solar system that is on the rim of the galaxy, which is our Milky Way. Earth is very isolated geographically from the more concentrated planetary civilizations which are closer to the center of the Milky Way. Earth is only suitable for zoological or botanical garden purposes, or a pit stop if you're traveling through the universe. Earth is too harsh and not sustainable to an advanced civilization, as the land floats on a lava bed with molten hot core. Every 20,000 years, the poles of Earth change and cause wild, devastating weather. The gravity is too heavy, and the land plates move, and whole civilizations can be swallowed up and destroyed. No other being would consider living here, hence why it's used as a prison. Apparently some of the domain beings are here and are monitoring Earth, or they are trapped here as well. Apparently humans should be living for around 150 years, but the planet has been altered to change our biological bodies to die more frequently to pass through the Amnesia stations more often, such as foods containing poisonous chemicals, chemtrails in the air to poison the air quality, diseases, etc. In between 1998 and 2007, Matilda was in contact with author Lawrence R. Spencer, which she sent all her notes to, for him to write a book of all her secrets that she had been holding onto for roughly 60 years. She felt as though people needed to know, and she could finally tell someone, as she was near the end of her life at the age of 83. But she did not want to take this info to the grave. Matilda was told that she could not tell anyone of her encounter, or her life could be in danger, and she was sent to live in a location selected by the government when she was discharged. Now, the funny thing was, as soon as Errol had left the doll body, that alien body, apparently Matilda was basically discharged from the RAAF straight away after that happens. God knows why, but anyway. Matilda felt as though the information needed to get out to advance our civilization, but not put her life at risk, hence why she left it for so long. We need to learn from our mistakes and take back our souls and progress to turn this planet around, not just be a prison. Now, this was nearly 80 years ago, so maybe this could have changed a bit, hence the new findings of Earth's magnetic force field seems to be weakening. Maybe this is part of it. I'm not sure. I'm not a scientist, but I just sort of, when I read that particular thing about the electromagnetic fields going, like, trapping our souls, I sort of went straight to that, because I remember reading that quite a few years ago, that our magnetic force field around Earth is changing, it's weakening, it's doing something. So maybe this is part of it. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts anyway. So other information that the book talks about is Atlantis and Lemuria were covered by ash in a volcano eruption and were sunk to the bottom of the ocean. The dinosaurs were destroyed by radioactive weaponry, hence why a lot of the dinosaur bones that they dig up have to be stored in a specific location. They're actually radioactive, believe it or not. I've heard that theory. Let me know if you have heard that as well. Egypt hieroglyphs and pyramids are nothing but an unsolvable puzzle that means absolutely nothing, and it's been left over from the old empire. Evolution is wrong, and galactic companies created our bodies, organisms, animals, and plant life. That I can buy into, to be completely honest with you. I have never been one to believe evolution. I think that if evolution was real, the monkeys of today, like taking monkeys for example, would be evolving into humans, and they're not. So, yeah. Other topics is that we need to realise who we are, we need to get our memories back, we need to figure out who we are and destroy these electronic traps to that keep us here from the old empire. Matilda and Errol's communication still occurred even after Errol went back to her home planet, and also even after Matilda was discharged from the government, because Matilda was actually apparently one of 3,000 battalion officers that got lost across the universe. But Errol ended up finding her in Matilda's body. And also, some great and powerful ISBs can occupy more than one body at one time, hence why a few people invented the telephone at the same time. And other inventions were also created by people who never knew each other, that lived completely in different countries, and were invented at the same time. I'm not going to go on any more about what was in this book. You basically just purely have to read it, because this video is going to be long enough as it is. I could explain this book for days. But yeah, definitely go into this book with an open mind. I definitely did, because I'm pretty open-minded. Like, I will look at all evidence presented to me, and I will then basically make a decision on what I think is right or whatnot. Like, I have no expectations in this life. It could be anything. We really don't know because of how, really, when you think about it, the complexity of how we are and how we exist and what could potentially be out there. Ready for it to take me in any direction that that it wants to take me in. But in saying that, if this is real, it's pretty fucked up if we are the rejects from the old empire and they basically sent us here to imprison us on this planet. To be completely honest with you, I would not be surprised. And it appears that we are not going to get off this planet. It just appears that we are just going to die, get wiped, go into a state of hypnosis, and sent back down to Earth in another vessel, another human vessel, in another meat bag. I hope it isn't real. I hope that this was all just a complete misinterpretation by Matilda and on Errol's part, because it could be a case that she didn't interpret it properly, like how people are trying to interpret Nostradamus's quatrains. They're not getting it right, and there are flaws in the way that they are doing it, and the fact that she only had to go off of telepathy, which she wasn't really comfortable with, or she did get comfortable with it over the 6 weeks, but to me that's not a huge amount of time to get acquainted with something of that sort of magnitude with our brains. And the fact that Airl had to learn English, I do believe that there is potential there for miscommunication and misinterpretation. But please let me know your thoughts on the whole thing. Do you believe this could be a possibility? Do you believe it's absolute nonsense? I'm on the fence. I want more proof. I'm a person who basically wants more evidence to buy into this sort of theory completely. And who knows, this all could have been a hoax. You just don't know. But at the same token, it does make a bit of sense. There is a lot of things in there that do make sense, as batshit crazy as it does sound. It's up to the individual person how you feel about it. But I definitely want your opinion. Please leave your opinion down in the comments below. Let me know how you feel about it, because that's what it's all about, getting people's different opinions on this, and I'm all for that. Now, the illustration that I decided to do for this video was along the lines of some of the descriptions that Errol was telling Matilda about how our souls are trapped here. We go into a light and we get hypnotized and erased and then sent back down. So my interpretation of that was to put this hideous monster hybrid being onto like this floating landmass through space to sort of represent like a planet or whatever, or like Earth or whatever you want to call it. Just, I didn't want to draw a big Earth or a big ball. I just wanted to sort of draw it like that. And he's sitting on this floating mass of dirt, and he's chained to it. There is a bunch of electrical devices stabbed straight into the shoulder areas and the legs, zapping the absolute shit out of this creature and wiping its soul to then be thrust back into complete torture again. And there's light. You've got the lights coming out, shining onto the monster, which I'm not overly happy with the way I did the light coming from the lampshades. The lamps. I don't really know how to do that. I think that's probably one of very rare times that I have done something like that. I did it the best that I could. It might look shit. I apologize. That's just my way of doing light beaming from a lamp. That's the only way I could do it. But other than that, you can see the sheer misery and torture of this being wiped and sent back down to live on Earth again. So like this floating bit of dirt through space could be maybe the base or the platform that these souls go back to be erased. And they're chained there and held there until they're erased and the hypnosis is done, and then sent back down to Earth. There we go. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. But anyway, I have waffled long enough. This video is going to be massively long. If you want to read the book, I will have a link in the description below if you want to go and have a look at it, if you are interested at all. And if you like this kind of content, like and subscribe, turn on the notifications so you keep up to date with when I post. And I am out of here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.